Regional New South Wales towns are counting the costs right now of the devastating flood disaster. 5 people have died, tens of thousands of people are still cut off, and the ADF has been deployed as the cleanup begins. It is going to take weeks and weeks to recover from this. Yet after every natural disaster in this country, the usual green zealots put their heads up and grandstand and blame it all on climate change. And right now, people in New South Wales are worried about rebuilding. I mean, it is so incredibly thoughtless to be banging on about climate change in the middle of a disaster. Yet the Prime Minister and his ministers couldn't help themselves.
We're reminded as well of the need to look at the impact and cost of climate change. Whilst Australia has always had extreme weather events, the science told us they would be more frequent and they would be more intense.
We all know that we're a country that does have these extremes, but climate change is absolutely exacerbating the frequency and the intensity of these events.
We are likely to see intensifying climate-related events in terms of fires or floods, particularly in our coastal regions. That's what the science says.
Now, not only is this extremely irresponsible, given 5 people have died and people have lost their homes and livelihoods, but to try and score political points in the middle of a crisis is wrong. It's pathetic. 9 newspapers went as far as to publish research by a group called Climometer, who have put out a rapid attribution study which found the New South Wales floods, especially around Taree, were significantly worsened by human-driven climate change. And bear in mind, Climometer is funded by the European Union and the French National Centre for Scientific Research, 2 climate-obsessed bodies, especially the EU, whose members are also banking on renewables to power the grid. CNRS's research director, Davide Ferranda, claims in his study that extreme rainfall that caused the flooding was mainly intensified by human-induced climate change, with natural variability playing a secondary role, and that adaptation was necessary. Well, gee, it's really good to know that a man currently sitting in Europe is making an assessment on 3-day-old floods on the other side of the world. And Climometer did the same within days of Cyclone Alfred in March and Cyclone Zelia in WA in February, as well as a number of other extreme weather events around the world. Yet if you actually look on their website at the 80 global events which they've analysed, the majority actually claim that they've been strengthened by climate change. The majority. Only a few they don't believe were caused by climate change. Again, hardly any surprises from an EU-funded group. The Guardian's headline, they went with "The floods and droughts devastating Australia are fingerprints of a warming planet." It says it is undoubtedly clear that continuing to burn or export fossil fuels will increase climate change and the risk of extreme weather. Oh dear. Well, what about the floods that occurred in Australia before that coal-fired generation that The Guardian talks about began here? In 1852, the floods in Gundagai were some of the worst to ever hit Australia. 89 people died in that one. In 1893 in Ipswich in Queensland, 35 people died. Fast forward to 1916 in Claremont and Peak Downs, Queensland, 65 deaths. And if you look at Taree as a whole in New South Wales, 1921 was the highest flood on record at 5.7 metres it peaked. It was eclipsed by the 1929 flood at 6 metres. In 2021, 5.6 metres, and of course the latest in the last few days at 6.5. But the point is, the list goes on. Australia has been flooded many times. We're a country born on drought and flooding rains. And this constant commentary is virtue signalling. And it certainly won't help those in the midst of a clean-up who are still facing a very real threat, and especially those who have lost loved ones. People are worried about their lives and homes right now, as they rightly should be. And this is just pure idiocy from the usual suspects again.